seen this program function module, the creation of function module. We have some basic function module where we have import, export tab, and the related code I have written under the source code tab. So this is one of the modulation technique which we have seen. So today I'm going to explain changing and tables tabs. So already we have seen what is meant by import, export, right? So today we'll see this changing tables, and also I will take a different scenario for that. So let me create a new function module. Support 2024. So here we need to give the function group. So last time I gave the same function group. So same function group I'm using for this function module also. So here let me give a function module that says module details. So give any short text, then save it. Ignore this warning. Now, so first I'll take one import parameter, export parameter, and after that I'll show this tables parameter. So right now my scenario is based on the what we can say item category from sales order. So this is a table which stores all the sales document item data. So my input is like based on uh, item category this one. So based on sales document item category, user want to see sales order number, net price, currency, and sales document item category. So here user will enter the sales item category. So earlier we have seen based on the sales order number. Now user will enter sales document item category. So based on that, it has to fetch the data from the database table. For example, if I execute this table, item category. So if you see item category, we have different items like TANZ, SSO. So like this, these are the different item categories are there. So based on this item category, user will enter any of this item category. And based on that, it will go to this VBAP table and it will fetch the related item category records. For example, if user will enter TAN as item category, it will fetch, it will go to VBAP table. It will fetch the item categories which are under TAN. So those records will be taken from here and it will be stored in an internal table. So that is a requirement. Here, multiple records are there. If you say, I told you it will be stored in an internal table just now because here multiple records are there. So if you want to store multiple records, we need an internal table. There is no single record. Here, item category, there are multiple records are there with ZSSO, with ZBVN, TAN. So there are multiple records are there. So to store this one, we need to create a internal table. So input is item category where user is entering this input item category and it has to store in a table as it is having multiple records in the database. So now it's clear what is input and what is output. So input, I will take it as IM. So this field name is, or else let me copy the field name. So data element also same. And here select the type. Associated type is nothing but data element. Then press enter. So input parameter is created. Now export parameter. So I want to create a table, right? Internal table. So internal table If I want to create, I can create under the export parameter. So it acts as output parameter or changing parameter. So it can be act as input or output. Suppose if I want to use tables parameter. Suppose if I want to declare my internal table as a table parameter, let's see whether it is possible or not. Suppose here, let me give IT, VPAP, and here type and my structure name. See, here, as I told you, user want to see only specific fields like Veblen, item number, and then item category, is this one, net price. Net price and this one says SD's document currency. So out of 485 fields, I want to see like user want to see only 5 to 6 fields data. So at that time, here I cannot give the table name. As you already know, if you want to fetch specific fields from database table, we have to create a structure. But here, how do we create a structure? Like there is no place to write types, begin of our structure name, end of structure name, in between we need to specify the field names, but here there is no space to write such type of structure, right? Suppose if I create internal table, like suppose we can create structure two ways, locally or globally. If there is no place to declare the structure, obviously we can go for global structure. Now, to create global structure, we already know we have a transaction code SC11. In this transaction code, mm, okay. So there is already global structure once I have created for the same requirement, which is having sales document, item number, net price, currency, and sales document item category. So this structure I can able to use. But if I want to use this structure, like I created globally, but here if I want to use the structure, how do we write? Internal table, type table of structure name. But if I want to write here, there is no option for type table of, only type ref2 is there. To write an internal table, generally we used to write syntax, right? 1 second now. Mm. Like if I want to write internal table, if I want to declare internal table, we use data, ITVBAP type table of our structure name. Suppose structure name is just now I have written this one, VBAP. But in this screen, we don't have an option to declare type table of, right? But how the system will be recognized, it will be an internal table if you don't specify type table of. Do we have any alternative option?
Type table.
Repeat again.
Type table.
It's table
C11.
type. It's table type, not type table.
Table
It's
type,
a table
yeah.
type. Yeah. So at that time, we can create a table type. So already we learned table type concept. So we have to create table type for this structure. So you can create a table type. I already did. Mm, Let me search for table type. This is the table type which I have created. So this is a table type. Inside this table type, we have the same structure. Just now I have shown you the structure. Like if I double click on it, see same fields are there. So this structure we can able to, sorry, this table type we can able to use. So I'll take this one. But still, if I use this type, see, there is an error. Tables parameters are absolute. So whenever we used to get table parameters are absolute, like generally nowadays we are not using tables parameter. So whenever you will select it as a table type, it will give a warning message. So you can you can press enter 2 times, so the warning will be ignored. So in this way, we can create table type, or else let me delete this one. So if you want to delete, select the row and click on minus symbol. Now, suppose there are some scenarios where you want to fetch all the tables data, all the fields from a table. Suppose VBAP table is having 275 fields. Then if you want to fetch 275 fields data, then same way you can um, write the parameter name and let me give type. Here I'm giving VBAP. See, even I'm pressing 2 times enter, it's not allowing me to come out from this grayout screen. Internal table name, type, and here associated type is nothing but VBAP. So if you see, flat types may only referenced using like for table parameter. So meaning whenever you want to fetch all the fields from your table, it might be standard table or custom table. Whenever you want to fetch all the fields from a table, don't use the word as type here. Instead of type, here you need to write like. It won't be found in F4 help, but you need to type manually. Internal table name, like your table name. Then press enter. Now the warning has gone. So always remember, if you are referring to a complete table fields, then you have to use like. Or else whenever you want to specify only a specific fields from a table, you can create a table type and you can define with type keyword. So depends on the requirement, we can choose. If you're taking all the fields from a table, use the keyword like. If you're referring only few fields from a table, then here you need to choose like, type. And instead of table name, here we will give the table type. Always remember here we need to specify table type. Okay. So let me remove this one, type. And here, let me delete this. First, I'll write from the beginning. IT VBAP type, then table type name. Oh, so here you can see table type. Now we have import parameter and tables parameter. Then if there is no data found, I'll raise an exception. Not found, no data found. So this is for exception. Under the source code, we can write the logic. Now logic is, so I will select few fields. So the fields are nothing but based on the structure we are fetching. Like user want to see these fields data. So instead of writing manually, take Control Y to select all together, then do Control C. First Control Y, then Control C. It will be copy. Then go here. You can adjust this. Now these we want to fetch from VBAP table. Then we want to store into table because it is having multiple records. So we want to store into a table, internal table, that is ITVBAP, which I have specified in the tables parameter. And we have a condition, like it should not fetch all the fields data from VBAP table. It should be fetched based on the sales document item category. So based on user input, suppose user is entering CSSO, only those item category records should be displayed. Suppose user is entering input as TAN. So those item category records has to be displayed. So based on the user input, it has to fetch from the database table. So that condition we can give in where condition. Where so item category, what is the name of the item category field name? This one. So copy this one where PSTYV is equal to our input parameter. So what is our input parameter? IMPSTYV. So here user will enter the input. Suppose user has entered ZSS1. Then it will go to VBAP table, and in this all the fields it will go to this column because I have given the condition for PSTYV. So it will go to this column and it will be fetched for the data which user has entered ZSSO. So which records are exist with ZSSO, those will be fetched from VBAP table. Then it will be stored in this internal table. So in that way, this select query will be work. Mhm. Suppose user has entered some wrong input. So it has what will happen? It will go to dump. Dump is nothing but runtime error, and it won't display any data. But user doesn't understand if it happens like that. So that is the reason we need to write. We need to raise an exception. So to raise an exception, we need to write the condition. If the above condition is not satisfied, or if the above condition is failed, then it should raise an exception. So for that, we have to write if size about C not equal to 0, meaning above condition will be false. When above condition will false, when the input is not existed in this table. So if user is entered any wrong input, it won't be exist in the table. So at that time, this condition will be false. So when this condition is false, it should raise an exception. So to raise an exception, we use a keyword rise. Rise, what is our exception is not found. So error message we don't need to write here. Whenever we are calling into AC38, we can write the error message there. Save it. I'll check it. Oh, size bar says size missing. Size bar not equal to 0. So now it is activated. Let's test here. Input ZSSO, I believe. Let me execute. So 15 records are there. So with ZSSO, 15 records are there. 15 entries are there. So 15 entries are displayed here. So based on the input, like based on the sales document category, we are displaying here. So those records, like it will go to VBAP table and it will go to this column, PST by. If I go to table entries, mm, this is the table. And if I execute, so this is the column. Like it will go to this column and it will choose only ZSSO. Which records are existed with ZSSO? It will capture only those records. The remaining records, it will be filtered out because I have given a condition where this item category is equal to my input. So it will check the condition. My input is ZSSO. So it will check the first condition whether TN, and ZSSO is equal. No, not equal. So it won't be save in the internal table. So again, it will check the next record. If it is same, then it will be save in the internal table. Like that, it will be captured from this column. Now I'll come back. So here I have choose table. So that is the reason here it is showing like this. You can ignore that. Uh, what I'll do, I'll call this one into local program. So I'll go to AC38. Twenty-eight, 2025. Call at some. So here calling function module. So as we discussed in the previous session, whenever we create a function module, always remember we will call into a program because a user doesn't have an access to SE 37 transaction code or SE 38 transaction code. Always remember, we will call into a local program. Then for this local program, we will create a transaction code. So that transaction code we will give to the end user. So always remember, whenever we create a function module, we need to call locally. So to call the function module, here we have an option. Do you remember which option we use to call a function module?
Pattern icon.
Yes, pattern. So go to pattern, and here we need to enter the function module name. So let me copy this from here. And whenever you are calling, make sure your function module must be active status. So I have copied this function module and enter it here. Press enter. So now the parameters which we have given, it will be appear here. So always remember, if you want to use this function model in your program, you need to pass these parameter values. So by default, which are appears with the black color, these are nothing but mandatory parameters. And if you see, these are gray out, meaning these are optional. So optional means you can pass it or you cannot. But which are appears with black, these are the mandatory parameters. Suppose if you want to make a parameter as mandatory parameter, here we have an option. See, here optional is there. If this box is checked, this parameter is optional. If it is not checked, it is a mandatory parameter. So whenever you create a function model, there is a requirement where it is a mandatory parameter. At that time, you can uncheck this box. Suppose if it is an optional one, at that time you can check this one, meaning it is an optional. If you pass this parameter or if you don't pass this parameter value, it won't give any error. But if it is a mandatory parameter, you need to pass the value mandatory. Otherwise, it will give an error. So to pass this parameter value, we need to declare this parameter type. So to declare the parameter type, first you need to go to the function module, like how this parameter has declared. So if you want to go inside of the function module, just you can double click on the function module name. And if it is declared as exporting, you need to go to import tab. Because as I told you, whenever we call into a program, import will be changed as export, export will be changed as import. Now, if you see, this input parameter is declared this type. So copy this type and go here. Now, wantedly, I'll write in a different way. Mm, I'll write parameters TPSTYV, and by mistakenly, I have written type as VBELN. This is a sales document category. So it has to be declared as sales document category. But I haven't checked this function module, like how this parameter is declared. Like every time we used to create input parameter as based on the sales document number. So similar way, I have assumed and I have written the same way. And I am passing this parameter only. So let's see. And internal table. So here tables parameter is there. To declare this tables parameter, again go to function module, check what is the type of the internal table. Um, Let's wait a few seconds. So if I come to tables parameter, how it is declared? It is declared as this table type. So similar way, I need to declare in my program. So I'll copy this one. Okay. So I'll come back and I'll create internal table. So this is a tables parameter. To pass this tables parameter, I need an internal table. So internal table, I take it as IT. IT means CNO. So let me take TVBAP. It's like a table type, right? So TVBAP type, table type name. So this table type I have seen in the function model. If it is a table type, we no need to explicitly write type table of. Just we can write table type name, type, it's table type. And here we can pass parameter name. Now let me save it. So it is having multiple records. So multiple records means I need to loop it, tvbaf into. So as of now, work area is not created. So to create work area, we need we need to know the structure. So to know the structure, always remember, go inside of this table type. And here, what is the structure name taken? Copy the structure name. Because always remember, whenever we create work area, we used to give the structure name only. Similar way, here also we need to give the structure name. This is a table type, and this is a structure. Now, loop it internal table into work area and loop. In between this, we can write statement work area VBAP, and we need to follow the same sequence like how we have defined Veblen Postnar network. Veblen, then Postnar, afterwards net price after currency. So for currency, this field, and finally PSTYV. Save it, check it, activate, and I'll execute. So here ZSSO is a sales document item category. So I'll click on execute. So this type of errors we call it as a runtime error, or we can say it as a short-term. So this is an error. It this was occurred because here, let me scroll up. If you see the short text, type conflict. So it is saying there is a type conflict during a function module call. Like whenever we called a function module, there is a conflict occur where when we declare the type, see type conflict is there. Suppose if you want to see in detail, you can see what happened. So this is the function, sorry, this is our program. And there is a statement that is not executed, like incorrectly we have called. And if I scroll down, see, it is clearly saying the function module or interface was defined in such a way that only fields of particular type can be specified under import parameter. And this is the import parameter in the function module. This is the parameter in our program. These two are defined in a different way. In this error analysis, it is showing clearly these two are two different data mediums or data types. If you see here, specified here has different field type. If I go to this function model, what is input parameter? It is sales document item category. See how it is defined? This PSTYV, which means sales document item category. But if I go to my program, let me go to my program. I'll open one more session. If you see here, how it is defined Veblen. These two are different, right? Here I have given sales document number, but in function model, I have used sales document item category. I have given two different input parameters, but I want to perform the same logic, which I have provided in the function model. But how it happens? Because in the function module, I have written the logic based on the sales document category. But in the program level, I have given different input. I have given different input. I am trying to fetch the same data. So that is the reason it went to dump. So always remember, whenever we are using function module or whenever we are calling function module, so we need to specify the same data type. Always remember what import parameter is defined in the function module. Same data type we need to declare in our program. Even for exporting, changing tables, whatever the parameters are defined in SC37, same data types we have to use in our program whenever we called a function module. Otherwise, it will give a conflict error like this. So to exit from the screen, just put /n. But I want to go to again SC38 transaction code. So I am writing /n SC38 because I need to change the program. So here I'll change instead of Veblen, here I'll give PSTYV. I'll save it. I'll activate. So here I'll give the input. Before that, let me pass the text element. Always remember whenever you are using parameters or any selection screen fields, you need to pass the text. So here SD document item category. Let me save, activate. I'll activate this too. And here I'll give ZSSO. I'll execute. Now we can see the output. So earlier there was a type conflict error. Now there is no error because here in the function module I have written the logic based on the item category. But input I'm giving a different type. So that is the reason it went to runtime error. Now, if you see in our function module, I have written exception. Like whenever the sales order, whenever sales document item category is not exist in the table, it will raise a exception, right? Suppose in this scenario, I have entered ZSSO. This is existed in VBAP table. So that is the reason we are able to see the output. Suppose user is entering different input, which is not exist in the table. So what will happen? It will give a runtime error if I don't specify this exception message. Now in our program, I haven't commented this one. Right now, exception is not activated. If you see exception is there, but I haven't activated, meaning I am not using exception. So right now, exception is under commented mode. Suppose I'm trying to execute with a different value which is not existed. So let me check. See, again, runtime error. So here you can see the short text, exception condition not found triggered. So here it is clearly specified, not found. Do you remember I have given not found here? If you see in our exception tab, I have given not found. But even though I have raised the exception, it went to dump because in our program I have not uncommented the code which is belongs to the exception messages. So always remember, whenever we have the exceptions, always it should be uncommented. Otherwise, it will go to runtime error. Suppose user has entered the data which is not exist in the table. So what will happen? It will give this runtime error. But user cannot understand what is meant by short text and this not found error analysis because technically they are not aware of these things. So that is the reason whenever we are calling function modules, always remember we have to uncomment the exception and we need to give a proper message. Suppose if the data is not existed, it should show a proper message so that user can understand easily. Otherwise, it will go to this type of errors which user is not understand. In real time also, we don't use this type of things. We always give better error handling. Like wherever it requires, we need to give a messages. So again, I'll go to slash in SC38. So here I need to uncomment this one. And here I will write a message. So you can write a message locally or globally. Like preferably use global messages, which we have declared in SC91 transaction code. As of now, I'm writing here itself. No data found. Type. Suppose if I want to show them as an information message, I choose the type as I. And now I'll execute with the same value, which is not exist in the table. See, it not went to runtime error. Yes, there is an information message, no data found. So that user will understand, okay, I have entered the wrong input. So that is the reason no data is found. So in this way, we need to use error handling. Always remember, whenever, even if you call standard function model, like in real, in coming up classes, we use some standard function models. At the time also, always remember you need to uncomment the exceptions to avoid these type of runtime errors. If there is no data existed, if something is not there, then we will raise the exception. Instead of giving a runtime errors, we will raise the exceptions. So similar way, you need to uncomment every time and you need to write a message. So this is the best way of practicing. So I'll go to this function model. Children tables, okay. This data is there. Right? Now, so we have seen how to declare tables parameter using a structure or table type. Then one more thing, changing I'll tell you later. So one more thing I'll explain, like, uh, okay, let me activate this first. Let's wait few more minutes. I think server is slow again. Mm. Just last. Only 10 minutes class left over. It's slow again. So, have you practiced yesterday? Like, did you face the same issue yesterday or day before yesterday?
Yes.
Same issue? Like, server is down?
No, server problem. No.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
we- Mhm.
Network problem. Today only are facing this issue. Fine. Okay. So now I'm executing. So here I will give the input. Suppose CSS or let me give TAN. So this is my input. Like if I want to test this, let me execute it. So there are 11 records found. Suppose after few days, like if I want to test this function module, like I need to pass the input parameter and I have to check it, like how many records are existed. So every time if I want to execute it, I need to pass the input, right? So instead of this, if you want to test again with the same function module, so instead of entering always inputs, we can save it. Whatever we are passing the input, that input we can save it. So that can be used as a future reference purpose, like for testing the data, we can save this input value. Like in this function module, I have only one input parameter. But in real time, suppose we might be having multiple input parameters. So at that time, if you want to test every time, you need to pass the input parameters again and again. So instead of that, one time you can pass the input, then you can save it because we are testing, right? So if you are testing, just we need like few input parameters, which are mandatory parameters. We will pass those mandatory parameter values. So we need to enter the input, and here we have save data record. So you can click on that, and it asking the comment. So whatever I have given the input, it will be saved. But to identify that one, you can give any name. Suppose if I'm giving mm, test item category, this is for TAN. Let me give underscore. So I just test with item category TAN. So just for reference purpose, I'm writing like what is this test directory, whether you have tested for input parameter, like whether you are giving sales order numbers or else you are giving any item categories. So whatever you are giving, you can write a meaningful name. You can write any name here. So for reference purpose, I'm giving like item category, which I have given the input as TAN. And after that, you can click on copy it. Now, let me come back. and I'll execute. If I click on text directory, see there is a record like which I have given text test item catch TAN. Suppose if I double click on it, automatically it has filled my input. Like earlier, one second. So earlier, I need to enter the input. When I click on execute, I need to fill this input. But if we have test directory data, then we can choose directly. So this is easy for us to test this function module. So whenever you want to test a function module, so always remember we can save the input parameters by choosing save data record. If you click on that, it will be saved. Suppose if you want to test one more input, like different input parameter value, again you can give the different name. So this data will be saved. Suppose if I give ZSS4, so this is one more input item category. Suppose if I want to test with this one, again I can write test instead of this, I can add ZSS1. Then click on copy it. So if I come back and if I click on execute, so it is not filled because here two inputs are there. So two records I have saved. So whenever it was one directly, it was filled with the first input value. But right now I have given two different types. One is TAN, the other one is ESS4. Suppose if I want to test with the TAN, I need to click on first one anywhere. On the first record, you can click on anywhere. So it will be filled. Suppose if I want to test the SSO, I can choose second one. So it will be filled the second one. And if you click on execute and whatever the values are there, that will be appear. So in this way, we can test the data and we can save for the future reference purpose. So test data directory, which is used to store the values which we are executing here. So to store in this test data directory, you need to save the data record here. After passing the inputs, you need to save the data record. Then it will be stored under this option. And coming to changing parameter, I'll take a simple scenario. Like I will add two numbers. Here I will give, like if I want to add two numbers, I need two input parameters, right? One is two input parameters to hold two different variables, numbers. Suppose if I want to add 2 plus 3. So for 2, I need a variable. For 3, I need a variable. After adding these two, the summarized data to store this value, again, I need one more variable. So I need three variables, two for input, one for output. Now, instead of creating three variables or three parameters, I'll declare only two. As we already have in changing parameter, changing can be act as input or output. So here I'll take one parameter as an input. Suppose let me take mm, p number. Let me take type. So integer is nothing but 4 bytes. So here you need to choose int4. Suppose if you want to choose integer data type, by default it will take 4 bytes of data. But whenever here we are giving, you can specify int4 as a data type. Now let me go to, instead of creating two parameters under the input tab and one as export tab, what I'll create only one changing parameter. Suppose here I'll give changing data. Let me give here type, and this is also int4. Now Let me add this one. So change data. So this will be act as input and this will be act as output. Meaning, so first parameter, like in the scenario two. So for two, I have created a parameter. The name is t num1. And to store the second parameter and to store this result parameter, I have created only one parameter, that is ch data. Ch data, which is used to store the second input and also result. So it will be act as input and it will be act as output. So let's see that one. Suppose to add the two numbers, what we are doing? We are adding the first variable like and second variable, right? So here the result will be stored in the output parameter. So this will be act as output parameter. Now input parameter, first input parameter is p num1, which I have defined here as integer. And I need to add second parameter. So second input parameter is nothing but ch data only. So the same variable, same parameter I'm using as input and output. So here I will write ch data. So this is first input parameter, this is second input parameter, and this is also an output parameter. So this is the functionality of changing parameter. It can be act as input and output. So let me activate this one. Mm, If I go to execute, mm, let me pass input as 10 and here I'll pass 20. Here I need to give this one. This is what. And if you see, the result 30 has given 10, 20. Just focus on this changing parameter. So first parameter number I have given 10 and second parameter value I have given 20. The result is 30, 10 plus 20. And this is visible at ch data. If you see, this result is displayed under the changing parameter, meaning this changing parameter is acted as input and same thing it is acted as output. So in real time also, whenever we require, if you want to use same parameter as import or export, we can use changing parameter. But whenever we want to use any internal tables or whereas generally we will prefer export parameter. So suppose any variables are there at the time we will use changing parameter, depends on the requirement, but maximum we'll use export parameter to store internal table data. But we do have an option, like whenever we want to use it as an input parameter or output parameter, then we can preferably use changing parameter. So it will be reduce the number of parameters under the import and export. So today you have learned two different things. One is tables parameter, like if you want to define entire table data, you have to use the keyword here like. Suppose if you want to take only specific fields from a database table, then you have to choose type. And even whenever we want to declare internal table, we don't use this tables parameters. Mostly we use export parameter or changing parameter. Like mostly export parameter we use. So instead of tables here, we will use changing. So let me delete this one. So if you want to delete, place the cursor and click on minus symbol, it will be deleted. Same, if you want to declare internal table, same. You need to write internal table name and here type. And here you can give the table type name. Just I wanted to show you the tables parameter. So that is the reason I have created internal table under the tables parameter. But if you have any internal tables, preferably use this one. TVBAP. But whenever you want to declare all the tables fields, then we can go for tables parameter. Let me delete this one too. It's not required. Mm, Let me delete this stuff. So internal table, if you want to declare same way, you need to create a global structure and then you need to create a table type. So once you create the table type, you can specify under the export parameter your parameter name, type, and table type name. So any doubts? And also you have to create exceptions. If you don't create exceptions, already you have seen there is a runtime error. So remember, create exceptions also. To avoid the runtime errors, we create exception messages. So clearly today I have shown you that runtime error. Vamshi, stop recording session.